So last time we have seen the methods for obtaining the coherent sources. One method is use of light mirror. Second method is in Young's double slit experiment YDSE, a slit having a screen having two narrow rectangular slits S1 and S2 is kept in front of the monochromatic source. So these two slits behave as the coherent sources. Now this is the third method. The scientist has used the biprism to produce the coherent sources, and then this use of biprism is implemented in producing the stationary interference pattern like Young double slit experiment. So in our syllabus there are two experiments. One is a Young's experiment and other is a Fresnel's experiment to demonstrate the phenomena of interference of light or to explain the phenomena of interference of light. The theory of interference band is same, whatever may be the type of the experiment, maybe Young's experiment, maybe biprism experiment, or maybe any other experiment related with the phenomena of interference of light. Now, how the biprism is used to produce the coherent sources? That first we will explain separately. So let us see what is meant by biprism. So this part is not given in our notes. So please add this. So types of prism. Types of prism. So if the three sides are equal, then it is called as equilateral prism. Equilateral triangle, equilateral prism. If the two sides are equal, this is a isosceles prism. These two sides are equal. Now, this is a special type when this refracting angle is 4 degree. So angle of prism A is less than 5 degree. So this is called as thin prism. Thin prism. Now I will give one special type of prism. So this angle is 90 degree, this angle is 5 degree, or you can say 4 degree, and then this angle is 86 degree. Total fluid 90 degree. So this is a right angle, because one angle is 90 degree, right angle thin prism. So these are the types that we have used. Now, what is meant by biprism? So suppose these are called as base. So this is the base. So this is base. This angle is 90 degree, this angle is 4 degree, this angle is 86 degree. This is one more biprism. This is 4 degree less than 5 degree, this is 86 degree. Now, if these two prisms are going base to base, then we will get a new prism. Here the line where the two bases are joined. So this is 4 degree, this is 4 degree, and this is 186 degree. So this is called biprism, because two prisms are used They are used, they are joined base to base together so that they form a new prism. This is having three surfaces. So this is again a prism, but this angle is very very large. This is called as a vertex angle. Vertex angle, and this vertex angle has a limitation. It is 5 degree, 5 degree, so this will be 170 degree. If this is 1 degree, 1 degree, then this will be 170. Like this. So this is called as a biprism. So definition of biprism. This vertex angle is greater than a prism having vertex angle very large, between 170 degree to 179 degree, less than 180 degree, then it is called as the biprism, like this. So a prism having vertex angle very large between 170 to 180 degree, 179 degree is called biprism. So it depends upon this one, like this. So when two right angled thin prism are joined base to base together, they form a new prism called biprism. So biprism is produced by this method. Biprism is used to produce coherent sources. How? This is one method to obtain the coherent sources. So I will use the rough diagram. Suppose this is the biprism. So here the line where the two bases are going. So this line is called as the axis of the biprism. Suppose S is a point source of light, monochromatic point source of light kept on the axis. So from this source, if we draw two incident rays, one incident ray is drawn in the direction, another incident ray is drawn in the direction. So we know the theory of prism. Through prism, deviation as well as dispersion takes place. So this first ray is passing in the direction. The second ray is passing in the direction. So see the two rays, emergent rays. They are called as the emergent rays. incident ray, refracted ray, emergent ray. These two emergent ray diverge from each other. So they will not form a real image of S, but they will form the virtual image. So where the virtual image is formed, for that purpose, produce these two refracted ray in backward direction only. So here a virtual image S1 of the slit S of the source S is formed due to the upper half prism. Now let us consider the lower half prism. The third incident ray is say drawn in this direction. The fourth incident ray is drawn here. So suppose it goes in this direction, it goes in this direction like this. So if the two rays are produced in the backward direction, again they form the two virtual images. S1 is a virtual image of the S formed by the upper half part of the biprism by lower half part of it. So S1 and S2 are the two virtual images formed by the biprism of the single source S. So these two sources, S1 and S2, they are virtual sources, but they are produced, they are obtained from one and the same original source, therefore they are called as a coherent sources because they have constant phase difference depending upon the distance between SS1 and SS2. So distance SS1 and distance SS2 will decide the phase difference, but it remains constant. Now in this figure, SS1 distance is not equal to SS2, but these two distances can be made equal. Also, the plane of S, the plane of S1 and plane of S2 are different. These three sources, original source S and virtual sources S1 and S2, they can be made coplanar only when there is a certain condition. So that condition is important. When a refracting edge of a biprism is made exactly parallel to narrow rectangular slit S, then SS1 is equal to SS2 and S1 and S2 becomes coplanar. आपल्या फिगरमध्ये ते coplanar दिसत नाही. So these two conditions are satisfied only when the refracting edge of the biprism is made exactly parallel. So we know the meaning of the refracting edge. Last year we have seen the different terms related with the biprism, with the prism. So if this is a prism, then on this side there is a base. These are the two transparent surfaces. So light is incident here, it will emerge from this. So these are two refracting surfaces and this is the line joining the two refracting surfaces. So this complete line is called as a refracting edge. So we know already the definition of refracting edge. The straight line joining the two refracting surfaces of the prism is called as a refracting edge. So our prism will be like this. Biprism is like this. On this side there is a plane surface. So this angle is the 172 degree in our figure. This angle is 4 degree, 4 degree, 4, 4, and this is the total angle is 172. This is the refracting edge. So this point is called as a refracting edge. इथे फक्त आपल्याला पॉइंट दिसतो, ॲक्च्युअली ती लाईन आहे, आपण त्याचा ट्रान्सफर सेक्शन कन्सिडर केलेला आहे. सो दिस पॉइंट इज द रिफ्लेक्टिंग एज, दिस लाइन इज द रिफ्लेक्टिंग एज. In our figure it is only single point, but there are number of points joining the straight line. The line where the two surfaces join each other is called as the refracting edge. So this is the necessary condition. So we have to draw the ray diagram of the Fresnel bipolar experiment according to this condition. In that case, SS1 will be equal to SS2 and SS7H2 are coplanar. In this figure, they are not coplanar. So when we draw the ray diagram of the Fresnel bipolar experiment, but to satisfy these conditions like this. Now, in this case, the arrangement is like this. This is a narrow rectangular slit like this. Slit S. This is the bipolar. So since this slit is kept not like this, but it is kept like this. So this is the slit S. This is the bipolar. So slit and edge of the bipolar, they are made exactly parallel. So in this case, we get the two virtual images S1 and S2. They are coplanar and SS1 distance becomes SS2. Now, these two sources are obtained from one and the same original source, slit S, and they are having constant phase difference, therefore they are called as the coherent sources. So S1 and S2 have constant phase difference. S1 and S2 have constant phase difference, therefore they are coherent sources. Now, from this source, virtual element of the S curve, the waves are going in this direction. So they diverge from each other. Therefore, there is no crossing of the wave in this region. No crossing, no interference pattern is possible. What is the necessary condition for interference? The two waves should meet, should cross, should overlap, should superimpose each other. There is no crossing of waves. या रिजन मध्ये S1 च्या फक्त वेव्ह आहे, S2 च्या वेव्ह नाही, S2 च्या वेव्ह फक्त या ब्लॅक लाईनच्या खाली. So there is no crossing. Now consider this region. So in this region there are waves from S2, but they also diverge from each other. So there is no crossing, no interference. आता हा जो ट्रायंगल आहे, या ब्लू लाईनच्या खाली S1 च्या वेव्ह नाही, या ब्लॅक लाईनच्या वरती S2 च्या वेव्ह नाही. So there are no waves from S1 and S2 in this region. No waves, therefore no crossing. Therefore there are no possibility of interference band in this region. So in this three region, there is no crossing of light waves from two different sources, and therefore no interference band is produced. Now consider this point. Now at this point, one wave is coming from S1 like this, shown by blue color. Other wave is coming from S2, coming in the direction shown by black color. So at this point, there is a crossing of the waves, one from S1 and other from S2. So from this point onward, in this region, we will get the crossing of the interference, and therefore bands are formed only in this region. So this is the region of interference, where we observe the alternate bright and dark band like this. So these are bright and dark bands. Bright, dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, etc. They are equally spaced, they are very, very close, they are sharp, they are easily distinguishable, they are clear, because all the conditions for obtaining stationary interference pattern are satisfied. Now, behind this slit, there is a monochromatic source, like a sodium vapor lamp. Sodium vapor lamp is the best example of monochromatic source. Sodium vapor lamp. It produces the monochromatic light of wavelength 5000 893 angstrom. So behind this slit, a monochromatic source is kept. From this source, the monochromatic light is incident on slit. From this slit, the cylindrical wavefront having only one wavelength are coming out. These waves are incident on the biprism. Biprism has two parts. Upper part will form one virtual image, lower part will form another virtual image. These two virtual images are secondary sources. They are obtained from one and the same original source and they are having constant phase difference. Therefore, they behave as a coherent sources. They are monochromatic sources. Why? Because the waves coming, the incident waves coming from slit incident on the biprism are having only one wavelength. Therefore, this is also monochromatic source. This is also monochromatic source. So all the waves coming out from the biprism are having only one wavelength, lambda 5893. So monochromatic light waves are crossing in this region and they form the stationary interference pattern in which we get alternate bright and dark pattern. आपल्याला अशी डायग्राम आता दाखवली फ्रेस्नेल बायप्रिझम. So our conditions are like this. S1 should be SS2 and SS1 S2 are co-planar. आपण पहिली स्टेप हीच करणार आहोत. Suppose this is the line on our paper, marginal line red color ने दाखवलेली आहे. So at this, on this line we give the slit S. This now this is one line, this is two line. So two line above this is S1, two line below that is the S2. So distance SS2 is equal to distance SS1. So these two distances are equal. So this condition is satisfied and they are coplanar. So both the conditions are satisfied in our theorem. SS1 distance is equal to SS2 and they are coplanar. Now we have to complete this remaining diagram. So first I will complete a dotted rectangle. या स्टेप जरा लक्षात ठेवा. So S1, S2 and S are marked like this. Now complete the dotted rectangle, draw the dotted diagonal. Like this. So this is the point of crossing this point. So biprism is kept between this point of crossing and the slit is nearly midway. तर हा पॉइंट आणि ही स्लिट याच्यामध्ये इथे साधारणपणे आपल्याला अप्रॉक्सिमेटली biprism दाखवता आहे. So now I will show the biprism. B for biprism. So this refracting edge of the biprism is exactly facing toward the slit. So from this source S, there are two incident ray. One ray is drawn here. First incident, this one. Second incident ray is drawn here. हे दोन पॉइंट ऑफ क्रॉसिंग डायगोनल थे. इथे आपण दोन इन्सिडेंट काढले. So these ray will go in the direction of the reflection. First incident ray, first emergent ray. Second incident ray, second emergent ray. First incident ray, first emergent ray. Second incident ray, second emergent ray. These two emergent rays divert from each other. If they are produced in the backward direction, they will produce the virtual image S1. So when these two rays are produced in the backward direction, so we have already drawn ray. So S1 is one virtual image of the slit S formed by the biprism. Now we will consider the two rays like this. Third incident ray at this point. It will go in the direction. This is the third emergent ray. The Poisson cylinder is drawn in the direction. It will go in the direction. So third and fourth emergent ray, they again diverge from each other. So if they are produced in the backward direction, they will produce the another vertical images too. So S1 and S2 are the two vertical images of the slit S formed by the biprism. This is the line joining the two bases of the prism. Now there is no crossing of wave, no crossing, no interference band. Interference band is produced only in this region. So this is the region of interference pattern where the bright and dark bands are also there. So these are the bright and dark bands. So alternate bright and dark bands are observed in this region. Like this. They are vertical, they are equally spaced, they are very close. Like this. So this is a R, a region of interference pattern, where the bright and dark bands are observed alternately. These bands are equally spaced, they are sharp, clear, easily distinguishable. Now these bands are very close. Therefore, their measurement by naked eye is not possible, and therefore, in the experiment method, we have to determine the wavelength, unknown wavelength of the monochromatic light used. We have to measure this separation, and for that purpose, we have to see the magnified images of the band, bright and dark band. And for magnification on this side, we are using a micrometer eyepiece. So we know different types of microscope. So traveling microscope is the one example that we use in some experiment. So this is the eyepiece of the traveling microscope. A scale of micrometer is attached to this eyepiece, therefore it is called as a micrometer eyepiece. Micrometer would be the scale attached to the micrometer eyepiece. So this is the complete diagram, ray diagram of the Fresnel's biprism experiment. Like this. So this diagram is also asked for labeling. So first we will see the question of label diagram. So this is the rough diagram. This is the correct diagram. So this condition SS1 is equal to SS2 and SH1 are coplanar. This is the important condition. It is satisfied in our figure. So now we will give the labeling. S is a original monochromatic source. The arrangement is like this. A narrow rectangular slit is illuminated by a light from the monochromatic source like a sodium vapor lamp. Therefore, this slit is called as the original monochromatic source. Now, S1 and S2. S1 and S2 are the two virtual images of the source S formed by biprism which act as the coherent sources because they are having constant phase difference. In this case, if the distance S1 is equal to distance S2, then phase difference is constant and it is equal to 0. So condition of constant phase difference is satisfied and therefore they behave as the coherent sources like this. B is a biprism. R is a region of interference. Where the interference bands are observed. E is a micrometer eyepiece, E for eyepiece. But a scale of micrometers could be detected, therefore it is called as a micrometer eyepiece. E for eyepiece, like this. So, this is the label diagram of the Fresnel biprism experiment. So, in this case, the description of the Fresnel biprism experiment can be given like this. So here, this S is a arrangement like this. A narrow rectangular slit in a screen is illuminated by a light from the monochromatic source like sodium vapor lamp. So light waves coming from the slit are monochromatic waves having only one wavelength, 5893 angstrom. These waves are made incident on the biprism in the upper and lower half. So upper half part form the virtual image S1, lower half part of the biprism form another virtual image S2. So S1 and S2 are the two virtual images of the slit S formed by the biprism which act as the coherent sources. So these are two coherent sources. Also, they are monochromatic sources like this. The waves from S1 and S2 after refraction through the biprism, they cross in this region R. So this is the region where the interference bands are formed. These bands are very close, therefore for the measurement they are observed through micrometer eyepiece, so they appears to be magnified and we can make the measurement accurately. So in this experiment there is a narrow rectangular slit. This is the biprism. This is the eyepiece like this. So in Young's experiment we are using screen to observe the interference pattern. Here instead of screen we are using the micrometer eyepiece. In that case we are using a screen having two slits. Here biprism is used to produce the coherent sources like this. So in this case this distance between S1 and S2 coherent sources, this distance is normally we denote it by small d. A distance name is so this distance is d. This distance is capital D. Distance between the plane of the two coherent sources and the screen used for the interference pattern. This bandwidth is beta. Distance between the two successive bright band or distance between the two successive dark band is called as the beta or it is denoted by W, width W like this one. So this beta bandwidth, it is also part of the fringe width. And we have derived this formula, it is equal to lambda capital D upon small d. Where lambda is the wavelength of the monochromatic light used in the experiment, D is a distance between the plane of the coherent sources and the screen is replaced by micrometer eyepiece and small d is the distance. Now in this case, the special thing is this. D is the distance between the two virtual images and it cannot be measured directly because S1 and S2 are vertical images. Therefore, to measure D, we are using the convex lens. So this point is important. So you can add in your notes. Since D is equal to distance between two virtual images S1 and S2, therefore D cannot be, it is distance between two vertical images, cannot be measured directly. This is the important point. D cannot be measured directly, but D is measured indirectly by using a convex lens. A convex lens between biprism and eyepiece. आणि इथे मध्ये लेन्स असतो, तो लेन्स आपण इथे दाखवले नाही, या फिगरमध्ये आपण दाखवू शकतो. सो दिस इज द पोझिशन ऑफ द लेन्स. A convex lens L is used here. On this side there is a micrometer eyepiece. Like this. So between biprism and eyepiece, a convex lens is fixed for the measurement of D. Like this. So now how this D is measured, that we will see. So in this figure, this is the slit S. This is one vertical image S1. This is another vertical image S2. So this is our required distance. We have to measure D. So it is a distance between the two vertical images. Therefore, it cannot be measured directly. Therefore, for indirect measurement, we are using the convex lens. So convex lens is kept here, L, and here is a micrometer eyepiece. So in the focal plane of the micrometer eyepiece, this distance is capital D. This distance is object distance U. This is image distance B. Because by using lens, we get the images of S1 and S2. They are inverted images. So this image is the S1 dash. This image is S2 dash, and the distance between S1 dash and S2 dash is the, say, D1. So this is object distance, this is image distance, this is U, this is V. So this D is equal to U plus V. U is the object distance of the slit from the lens, and V is the distance of the magnified images. So if V is greater than U, then D1 is greater than D. Therefore, S1 dash and S2 dash are magnified images of S1 and S2 respectively, that by linear magnification M is equal to, we have derived this formula here, size of the image or height of the image upon size of the object is equal to image distance upon object distance. So in our figure, size of the image is D1, size of the object is D, image distance is V, object distance is U. So D1 upon D is equal to V upon U, and now if you use this formula, then this is equal to D minus U upon U, or this is equal to V upon D minus U. So by using this formula, we can determine D. D can be determined by using E, by using this equation like this. So D1 is the distance between the magnified images. Between magnified images S1 dash and S2 dash. D is a distance between two coherent sources. Distance between the two coherent sources, that is virtual images, like this. So this D can be measured like this. So D is equal to D1 into U upon V. D is the, so D1 into U upon V, like this. So measurement of D can be done indirectly by this method, by using a convection between the slit and the eyepiece like this. So this is the practical method for measurement of small d like this. Next time we will see one small article, what is meant by optical path, what is meant by optical path difference, and how this path difference is affected by the change in medium like this. Then we will solve the problems on this interference section. After this solving problem, we will go for the last part of the chapter, and it is related with the new phenomena, diffraction. Interference and diffraction, they are almost same phenomena, but there are certain differences. So we will go for that last part of diffraction like this. Okay, we will stop here.